May 16th, 2015 is one of the best or one of the worst days of my life, depending on how you look at it. I've always been pretty clued into gaming news and general gaming media. However, this was mostly from official gaming journalist outlets, PC Gamer, IGN, etc. However, on that date, I made a substantial change in the way that I consume gaming media. I downloaded Reddit. And because of that shift, my young 15-year-old brain was then flooded by an absolute onslaught of opinions from every corner of the website. However, there was one consistent theme: be angry about everything. This is when I dived headfirst into outrage culture, and more specifically, gaming outrage culture. No longer was it about sharing games that I loved and new releases that I was excited for. Now, the most important thing to me was talking about how pissed off I was at every tiny thing. How terrible Xboxes were and that anyone who buys one over a PC is a moron. How every new game release had to have something wrong with it, and it was my mission to expose these issues and make the world of gaming a better place. But was I really doing that? Was I actually doing anything good? Or did I just enjoy the feeling of being angry at something, even if it was something so tiny that it didn't really matter? I got fully indoctrinated into the outrage culture war. Because the harsh truth is, it feels good. It makes you feel like you're this righteous savior, defending your favorite hobby from those who would do it harm. But all this leads to is you hating the very hobby you claim to love, and becoming further and further radicalized till you become one of those nutjobs who threatens another human being's life just because they were vaguely involved with a video game that made you angry. Just to clarify, I never did this. The purpose of this video is not to mock, ridicule, or go after anybody. My aim with this is simply to explore this topic and also tell my story of how I managed to get out of this toxic mindset. And if I can help just one person watching this to have a change of heart and consume gaming media in a better and healthier way, then I'll be a happy man. So, the idea for this video came about after the absolute shit show that was the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And no, I'm not talking about the actual game itself. I haven't played it, and the actual game product really isn't relevant here. The shit show in question is the response online this game got from the time it was revealed to even still right now, months after its release. Like, bloody hell, if you didn't know about it already, you would assume that this game had shot these people's dogs and then bathed in its entrails from the way they talk about it. I genuinely don't think I've seen a game go under this much scrutiny before since like Cyberpunk in 2020. And in that case, it was fully deserved, because it was released in an unacceptable state and is only really now being looked on more fondly 5 years later. Once, you know, they actually made the game they promised. But why did Assassin's Creed Shadows receive all this backlash? Well, the main criticism appears to be the fact that one of the two main characters is a black man called Yasuke. And if you're sat there thinking, is that it? Exactly. I'm not going to be delving into the whole debate about him as a character. If you're interested in that, then I've linked in the description a really good video by The Hidden One that goes into much more detail on the topic. What I want to discuss is this culture of constant outrage itself and how it's poisoning the gaming community. Look in the comment section for anything to do with this game, and you will see mountains upon mountains of comments of people saying how much they hate this game and anything to do with it. But that begs the question, why are they still there then, actively engaging with it? If you don't want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows because of something like having Yasuke as the main character, then fine, you are well within your right to not play the video game. But why can't it just stop there? Why do people feel the need to endlessly go on and on about how they're not going to play it? Yes, we get it. Move the heck on! It's like calling up your ex just to tell them how much you don't care about them. Which of course something I would never do. Even when I was getting the gameplay for this video, shout out to MK Ice and Fire by the way, there were people shit talking the game in the comments. Like, bro, why are you even here? I think this guy puts it best. Why do people press dislike on playthroughs of games they don't like from a person who didn't make the game but is just playing it? To give another example, late last year we saw the reveal trailer for The Witcher 4. The game looks amazing, and the vast majority of people, including me, are super excited about it. But holy Jesus, the amount of people complaining about Ciri's face is insane. It made me feel like I was in the bloody Twilight Zone. You're honestly looking at this stunning character who, bear in mind, looks almost identical to how she did in the previous games, and saying that you're not going to play this kick-ass game because they made her ugly. It honestly astounds me that people can think this way, that something as tiny as not being attracted to the main character is enough to write off an entire game before we've even seen a gameplay trailer. It's interesting that male presenting characters aren't under this level of scrutiny as well. If Kratos looks like this in the next God of War game, is there going to be a boycott as well? I highly doubt it. And I can guarantee you, the majority of people currently throwing a fit over it will still play it when it comes out, because it's all performative. It's the old man yelling at a cloud so they can feel like their opinion's being heard, even when they don't really believe it themselves. Okay, let's imagine this scenario. You are a massive fan of pancakes. You eat them multiple times a week and rave about them to all your friends. However, one day, you go to a really nice restaurant and for dessert, you have some pancakes with blueberries on them. And you absolutely hate it and don't even finish it. Would you A, not order them again? Or B, repeatedly go on that company's Facebook page and angrily comment on every one of their posts about how much you hate their blueberry pancakes and how they should be taken off the menu? Why would you spend so much time and energy engaging with something that you don't actively like? To relate this to an actual real world example, I'm a massive fan of professional wrestling. I even did it for a while whilst I was at university. Here's me getting clotheslined and then bashed in the face. Fun times. Anyway, the two biggest wrestling companies right now are of course the WWE, which most of you will have heard of, and a newer one called AEW that started in 2019. These two companies have pretty different styles, with WWE being much more family friendly whilst prioritising high production value and long-term storytelling, whilst AEW is much more aimed at the less casual wrestling audience, with more hardcore and bloody matches, as well as a much higher rate of huge spots and kickouts. Each one of them has their own merits, and there is plenty of space for them to both coexist. Sadly, however, there is a ridiculous amount of tribalism between the two fan bases that only goes to hurt the industry as a whole. Look in the comment section of any kind of news or post that the two companies make, and you just see endless arguments between people calling both companies trash and hating literally anything that's involved with the other company. If you prefer AEW or WWE, then that's absolutely fine. You can even dislike the other company, and that's still absolutely fine. But then why would you actively spend time out of your day to bash and talk about something you don't even like or enjoy? I personally prefer AEW, and you know what I do about WWE? I don't piss in watch it. I don't spend hours shit talking the WWE and saying how much better AEW is. I simply just watch the one I enjoy and ignore the other one. Why do people feel the need to prove they're a fan of something by shitting all over another very similar thing? You see this in gaming with stuff like the console wars, which, by the way, is entirely made up by the fans who have some weird loyalty to a mega corporation who doesn't give a shit about you. If you love your PlayStation, then that's awesome and I'm happy for you. Why does that mean you feel the need to rag on Xbox fans just because you prefer your console? The gaming industry can be a wonderful place. We can all share a collective love for the medium. There is already so much stuff in this world that drives us apart. Why can't we be unified by our shared passion, regardless of what console you choose to buy? Here's my big piece of advice for this video, and hopefully something you can take away with you. You'll have probably heard it already 100 times before, but it's still so true. If you don't enjoy a game or franchise, just don't play it. It really is that simple. For example, I played Dark Souls 2 upon release and didn't enjoy it at all. Frankly, I found it frustrating and boring. So what did I do? I uninstalled it and went about my day. I didn't go into the Dark Souls subreddit and call anybody who likes it an idiot fanboy with no taste in good games. I simply just moved on with my life. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going full toxic positivity mode and saying that video games can't be criticized. For fuck's sake, I literally listen to the Salt Factory videos when I can't sleep. And I'm definitely not saying that we shouldn't give video game publishers and developers shit when they do things like shove microtransactions into fully priced single player games. That's the case where I'd fully support criticism of Assassin's Creed Shadows, as that stuff is a poison on the industry. But you have to pick your battles wisely and be outraged for the things that actually matter. So take that negative energy that you give towards pointless internet arguments over tiny things and put them towards things that actually matter, like the active genocides happening in the world right now, or the rights of LGBTQ+ people being even further stomped on. Trust me, once I stopped engaging in every tiny internet argument and actively looking for things to get angry about, I became a much happier person. I started asking myself, does this really matter? Is it worth putting my time and energy into when there are other things I could be doing to improve both myself and the world around me? This word gets thrown around a lot, but I'm honestly seeing it becoming more and more real. People being actual haters. The sort of people who describe any new release or cast announcement or basically anything new as either woke or trash. It's those two words especially that have become so overused that they're basically meaningless at this point. And if you're currently writing out a negative comment because of what I've just said, then you are the exact person I'm trying to reach with this video. Just stop for a second and try and do some introspection. Why do you feel the need to be negative about everything? Does it make you feel better? Or is it simply a way to plug up a hole in your life that prevents you from being happy? I encourage you, the next time you see something that mildly irritates you or gets you wound up, just move on. Don't let it affect you to the point where you feel you have to respond or write some long angry rant. Just take a deep breath and move on. And I can promise you that your life will be so much happier when it's not being constantly filled by you being outraged by everything. Because I can speak from personal experience that it's so goddamn tiring being in that constant state of anger and annoyance. I hope that after watching this video, you can make the choice to distance yourself from this discourse and become a much kinder and happier person. Because like I said at the start, This video is not being made to target you and make fun of you. In fact, think of this video as an outreach of friendship, to let you know that it's okay to enjoy things and be positive about the silly little thing we all love called video games. To anybody watching, especially if you're a younger person, don't let your love be turned into hate, because honestly, it's not worth it. If you enjoyed this video, then I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I make different kinds of video essay style content, and it'd be really awesome to have you along for the ride. If you enjoyed this much of a talkative style of video, then click here to check out my video on the red barrel theory. Or if you want something more funny and silly, then click here, check out my video on how different locations in The Witcher 3 would handle a zombie apocalypse. Thanks guys.